Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, the podcast show number 417 with your host, Lauren Gray.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hospitality Marketing, the podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Gray, and this is episode number 417. So each week we spend around 20 to 30 minutes sharing the most interesting tools, news, and techniques being used in marketing for the hospitality industry. We also do a quick recap of our weekly live TV show, This Week in Hospitality Marketing, which airs every Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time on the Hospitality Channel TV station. So with that, let's get started.
And now, today's new resource tool.
So our tools for review this week, a couple of them we have discussed in other context before, two of them we have not. There's actually 4 tools total for our discussion today, which obviously leads to our technique discussion related to them. So let's dive right in on the first tool, Topic Mojo, TOPICMOJO.com. Topic Mojo is really cool. As with anything that's coming out these days when it comes to content creations and or abbreviations of usabilities for algorithms and machine learnings and so forth, AI has been infused into this program in a really interesting way, which is not directly related to our topic today, but it does allow for some creative interpretation of what it discovers and then what it thinks you should know about that discovery. So let me explain. Topic Mojo is a wonderful tool to help you look at both what you're doing and also what your competitors are doing, and then also how the market in general is doing about what you and your competitors are about. What this does is it does some wonderful discoveries that aren't necessarily the self-affirming kind that you do for yourself. It will make you realize some things about your content and or your marketing in its discovery, its functionalities, and also of your competitors that you may not have thought of, which is unique to do when you are intimately familiar with your product. You think very myopically as to how your product exists, what it's for, who uses it, what have been your successes, and so forth. And this is an outside, intelligent perspective as to what other resources look like in comparison, and also your resources look like to everyone outside of your myopic way of looking at things. So topicmojo.com. We'll talk more about in technique discussion of usabilities, but first tool. Second tool, a totally different gear, and that is bitplay.com, BITEPLAY.com. Bitplay.com is fun. It's just fun. And mainly because it's such a visual engagement, but it's a YouTube research tool. What it can do is it'll first show you what videos are related to whatever topic or keywords that you want to first create. Long string is fine because the database being YouTube is so extensive. You're amazed at how many variations of videos get made for a variety of reasons. But as a research tool, it's incredibly insightful to either affirm your creative ideas or open up the idea of ideas that you may not have considered. It's also good for discovery when it comes to those in your market that have an influencing value to what they do, those that may be very good at what they do that could influence how you would do it yourself. But any which way, from a tool's perspective, it has lots of really cool ways of searching, whether by content, by influencer, by tag itself, and a lot of other robust combinations thereof. It's a good, really good way of looking at YouTube as a true resource tool functionality. So that is our second tool. Third tool is trendwatchers.co. This is just a squirrel shiny object for anybody that loves this stuff. This is literally keeping track of what's trending. It's as simple as that. Now, at first, I was taken back by the platform of going, oh, this is interesting, it's fun, it's informative, but how useful is it? And that was out of the ignorance of not knowing how the tool is actually designed. And after I got to work with it for a while, it turned incredibly useful because it's either affirmational in your inquiry, meaning that what you're thinking about, you can go look at and see if it's validated by traffic and or engagement and or trending, and what the pace of the trending is. Is it rising or is it declining or is it maintaining? But also granular in the sense of related information about things. So where you might be very, again, my favorite word today is myopic in your content of who you are and the product that you represent, it allows you to add layers around that are directly related to you, but not necessarily directly of you. And it gives you a whole new realm of possibilities of how to look at what you're connected to without thinking it being directly a room and a rate and a destination and all the more tangible, realistic, or grounded perspectives we have of our products. So that is Trend Watchers, TRENDWATCHERS.co, not com.co. That is our third tool. Fourth and final tool. This is a secret sauce tool that I've only referred to once before because I really like keeping this as a rabbit out of the hat kind of thing for when I'm dealing with clients. And it's called Meet Donna. Interesting name, but more importantly, the functionality of it is incredibly cool. MEETDONNA.com. MeetDonna.com is my way of calling BS. What it does is it allows me to go over and sign up for things that my competitors are doing. Sign up for the way I think people are doing good marketing to their newsletters, their follow-ups, their subscribes, their more infos, their download link things, whatever, and to see firsthand the funnel that we're put into. How do they engage, and how frequently do they engage, and what do they uniquely target you for? So in other words, if I get a newsletter from a hotel competitor, I will get it and it will show me how soon I got it after I signed in. It keeps great meticulous logs as to when did you sign up versus what did you get. If you go to the letter itself and you click on things that inspire additional follow-ups from them, it creates a whole separate workflow branch of saying, well, you clicked on this click, that's why you're getting these emails. If you didn't click on these clicks, this is what the other follow-up emails are to it. And you get to firsthand see exactly what your competitors are doing in the engagement CRM relationship. It's also a wonderful way to learn how you could do yourself better. And that's when you find really good marketing sources and look at what they do and say, wow, that worked for me. That's what I want to do for it, what I do for it. So it's a really, really neat research tool when it comes to how exactly CRM engagement is performed by both your competitors and good shining examples, benchmark examples of it. So those are our four tools. TopicMojo.com, BitPlay.com, TrendWatchers.co, and MeetDonna.com. And the reason why we put these tools together is because of our technique discussion of the week.
Now, for this week's hospitality technique.
So our technique this week is how to create and identify actions that generate custom audiences. Of course, our third section to our podcast, not trying to jump ahead before we even talk about the second one, is our review of the live show of today. So they're all connected symbiotically, but the technique discussion is really about using these tools in the way to create and identify actions to generate custom audiences. And now first, I was going to take the path of what our live show had, which was a lot about GA4, a lot about defining actions as for audiences, a lot about looking at your ads and your engagement of your ads, whether they be video ads, click-to-call ads, text ads, image ads, carousel ads, rotated banner ads, whatever, display ads, whatever those ads are, those can create custom audiences. And also GA4, by engagement with your website, can create custom audiences. And I was going to go that route like the live show until I realized, no. Let's talk about functionalities that exist beyond those particular things. So we'll talk about those things in just a second once we get to our review of our live show. But the tools, Topic Mojo, the tool BitPlay, the tool Trend Watchers, the tool Meet Donna are all unique sources I picked for their own particular value proposition. Topic Mojo is wonderful about identifying how you show for what you are, your content, your relevancy. It also shows who you're competing with in the same space, what you show up well for yourself. Who else shows up well for that as well? And you'd be surprised how much of that competition isn't necessarily across the street for you. A lot of it has to do with the context and or engagement of your content that creates audiences from them. Now, the usability of Topic Mojo in particular is once you identify increased values of content that you should incorporate into what you're producing, whether it be for your website or most specifically your ad campaigns or social media content, it turns into a feeding funnel, kind of what we were talking about in the live show recap where I briefly said your GA4s and your ad campaigns create custom audiences. You're literally you're stoking the fires of that by being better at putting content in front of people via your paid campaigns to generate the audiences that are better used at sharpening the point to the pencil of targeting and creating better conversions for them. So the more applicable content you create for your paid campaigns, which is the fastest, quickest way to get in front of the right people, the self-fulfillment is it creates more of an audience base by those engagements of your paid campaigns to incur better conversions from them. Now, things like BitPlay. BitPlay is a discovery for video and YouTube in particular that allows you to look at what people are engaging for the discoverability, which gives you a whole other realm of determining, well, if that's being done in that content, either I can do two things. One, recreate my own content asimilar to it, which is an investment of many things, time being the biggest. Or I ride the coattails by actually using the content out there in references to the content of what I have. Now, this is more of an organic play where maybe a great video was done of somebody that came into town and reviewed the best pizza places, and 2 or 3 of them, if not more, were right around your hotel. And so maybe in your organic social and or in your local guide on your site for content, you refer to the video about the reviews of the pizza places. You have your own connections, you might be like, I didn't know that pizza place was so famous, or I didn't know that people cared about knowing about these things. This is the revealing factor of doing this type of research. So let me highlight more of my content about this, where I might put a hype link in for the restaurant. I might put a hype link in for the video. I might refer to it in context of social postings like, hey, there was a video that was done about a guy came in, checked out some of the pizza joints around our area, and the ones around us were rated the best. If you want to take a look at it, click here kind of stuff. So now you're riding the coattails of that traffic. What does that do? It creates engagement with your content, with both your website and also your social media, which allows you to create better custom audiences that you then can refine and target people that engaged with those links, like, oh, they watched the video and so forth. Let's create an audience of those people and now target them about coming because we went out to the restaurant and found out we can get a discount if they stayed with us at the hotel, or whatever it is that you create. But the idea of creating custom audiences came from the inception, the nascent of what would we do with the content by discovering that this has actually happened in our market. When you look at trends watchers, some of the stuff is more of watching the matrix, all the X's and the O's, the dops and the drips and every other stuff. Remember if you watch the movie, all that constant coding that looked like it was dribbling down like rain on the screen. You can stare at it. Or you can begin to ask better questions of it. Obviously, looking at trends about politics, health, weather, whatever, you're observing the observations of it, sure. But it gives you a chance to then hone down and begin to look at topics that you know are related to you. Travel to your area, events in your area, people that travel through your area, things that come up in trends that are about your area. And you can begin to burrow down by the tools like Trends Watchers, where you start asking specific questions and or keywords and or topics and or influencers, and looking at what is engaging trend-wise in your market. You might find out that in your market, 1 or 2 stores might be the inception of a trend in clothing that people are wanting to make the trip to your market simply to go to the store of origin that started something. Or music-wise, there's music venues that might have started a following of people that really appreciate that genre or that artist or that group, and they play regularly in an area that's next to you, and then you can use that type of content. That trending and awareness, it sounds like, well, that's not a whole lot of people, or it could be, but it allows you to get into the mainstream dialogue to either produce content that then gets engaged with, and that engagement helps you create your custom audiences, or the most aspect of it, it creates uniqueness of content for you that you can use to always be relevant in what you produce, whether it produces an audience for you or not, but you will get followers because you're sharing content that they enjoy. Think of it like Ottawa has a Tulip Festival. If you produce great content about the Tulip Festival and you know that the trending of what people refer to it as, the hashtagging, we talked about a tool not too long ago, hashtag for likes, which allows you to find hashtags that are relevant to what it is that you're looking for contextually and how they get used, which we didn't put that as a tool for this week, but it gives you a sense of it. Then you can begin to get your content in front of the people that are following those dialogues. And by doing that, they engage with you. And by that engagement, it creates a custom audience with you. And then, of course, the other idea of the CRM is the engagements of what gets done in your CRM. The better you can improve your CRM engagement by patterning off of the successes that you see others doing, by getting benchmarks of companies that do it exceptionally well because you followed them and you saw their entire engagement workflow and say, wow, I can replicate that. I want this to trigger when this happens. I want this to trigger when this happens. I want it to be delayed that long because it looks like I enjoyed it when it came that long afterwards or whatever. It also means you can watch your competitors and see what they're doing and realize that you might want to step into the space that they're trying to gather from, like, particular event affiliations and or destination interests. And maybe you jump on it with your CRM as well. That CRM creates its own custom audiences of engagement because if people click through an aspect of content you've put out, that creates a subset audience that then you can additionally communicate with about the continuance of their interest in that content. It could be as simple as a promotion you've done for AARP means that they're of a genre of people that are looking for rate sensitivity because of their age capabilities. It might be because of families, family events. It might be because of concerts, music events, music genres. It gives you the sources to create the segmented audiences that you need for better conversion percentages. So there you have it. Our technique this week, how to create and identify actions that generate custom audiences.
Now, this week's hospitality news that you should know.
So our review of the live show today, custom audiences and multi-channel marketing, obviously in vein, in theme for what we just talked about with our technique discussion, in vein, in theme with our tools as well. But the real expansion of it, which I told you earlier was the antithesis of what we ended up doing with the podcast today, was talking about the real usabilities of GA4, its audience generation. Our team member is very adamant about the fact that Google Analytics is the GA4 is not a real analytics platform as it is an audience generation platform. And he's had many examples to point out to it about how the data is being handled by Google, what its intent and purpose usage is for it, and that the ancillary value of it is analytics that they're providing us for the privilege of being first-party data cookies. That being said, the almost limitless capability of segmenting audiences based on what they do as actions is profound. It's shifted my perspective of how you target people. I think we've mentioned this on the live show and certainly on the podcast these past few weeks. The way that I always approached before was persona-driven, customer profiling with data as to identifying, the aspects about our clientele that would be definable targeting tools to make sure our message gets in front of for communication. And that doesn't go away, but there's this huge other tool now that has such a high value, which is rather than trying to guesstimate and estimate personas, and on even though there's good tools that are pretty good accuracy for it and so forth, taking another approach to the customization of audiences is defining what actions you want to identify as creating an audience from. Take, for instance, people that went to your booking engine but didn't book. That's an action that can be identified saying, I want to put a group together of everybody that went to my booking engine in the past 30 days that hasn't booked. Well, why would that be a good audience? Because they basically went to the well and didn't drink. So everything about them coming to that point was good until they didn't convert. So they already understand your product. They already have found and discovered your product. They've already gone through all the things that got them to the point of actually purchasing your product, except for they didn't. So their ability to get converted is a matter of defining what wasn't available or what wasn't at that moment the discernible that they were willing to buy from, whether it's an inventory availability, rate availability, maybe it was just research, whatever it was. But the ability to get back in front of them as a defined audience is incredibly powerful because you don't have to introduce yourself again. You really just have to remind them of you, to put you in front of mind again for them so you can have what we call the progressive communication. You don't hit them with the same initial awareness campaigns that you did for people that were out to discover you. You don't say, hi, we're a great hotel that does such a. No. You go to a deeper level of communication where you already know they've engaged with you. You already know that they've looked for you. Now it's a matter of finding out what it is you can offer them to make that conversion a reality. Those segmented types of audiences, now it's kind of a, beach ball over the home plate kind of pitch, something like that. That audience is very easy. But other audiences that have conditional relationships that maybe went to your website, went to your accommodations, went to a room type in particular, which may have been a multi-room, meaning they might need the extra space for family or what have you, and creating an audience out of that, and then creating a family and or larger group mentality of having a room, that place that has multiple rooms in it, content ads that go in front of them. Those audience gets used for all the ad functionalities that you can create in Google, where you can create them based on display ads and or trigger ads or conditional ads or dynamic ads or click-to-call ads and what have you, and maybe offering them something unique about that room type in what they see with you. Because again, you don't have to talk about the beginning of history like you've never met each other. You now just talk about what it is that they were engaged with you on, so that you can bring that dialogue more to a point of a model for them to convert with. So that was what the live show was about. I don't want to repeat too much of it, in the sense that by all means, please go over and catch it. You can go to hospitalitychannel.tv to watch the rerun for the live show 417. Remember, you can find our podcast. Actually, let's go through all the whole list here. You can find us on Google Play, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora. List goes on, 39 platforms and counting. We're even on Amazon's Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri. Simply ask any of them to play the Hospitality Marketing Podcast, and you'll get it. No matter which one, if you like the show, please leave us a favorable rating, and also a pleasant comment would be wonderful. We accept any comments, really. We have great feedback. You can reach me an email at lauren@hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. I answer each and every email related to both the live show and the podcast. You can catch us. If this is your first time catching us, by all means, smash the subscribe button. We do this every week. New content, new stuff every week, both live show and in the podcast. But the podcast, subscribe, and it'll let you know every time the new show comes up each week, which is usually on Fridays. If you want to watch any of our live shows in I Love Lucy format, rerun format, in our podcast, simply go to hospitalitychannel.tv. There you can catch us, all of the shows that we've done. We've been doing this live every week for 10 years, both live show, TV station, and also the podcast. Podcast actually been running for 17 years, so but not weekly. It's been 17 years in total, but past 10 years have been in weekly for it. So you can catch us for that as well. And of course, always catch our live TV show broadcasted on our TV station, the Hospitality Channel, called This Week in Hospitality Marketing, the live show. And that happens every Friday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. It gets recasted 11:30 a.m. Wednesdays, Sydney, Australian time for our APAC friends, and 11:30 a.m. UK time Wednesdays for our EU and Mideast friends. So hopefully those time zones work for you as well. If you are a hospitality professional for marketing and you want peer level group engagement, you can join us at our hospitalitymarketing.club. Just go to the website, details there while putting your email in, and we'll get collaborating there afterwards. So there you have it. My name is Lauren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time and look forward to talking to you next week.
You have been listening to This Week in Hospitality Marketing, the podcast show 417, brought to you by Hospitality Digital Marketing and in support of the HSMAI, Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. All right reserved, copyright 2023.